everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I'm Mollie Jahner, your host. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to two of the most amazing women. I'm very excited to have them on the show. It's actually going to be a series of interviews, kind of about just aerospace, breaking that mold, business school, founding companies, and all the things in between, especially the messy bits, which I think are the most exciting and interesting. And so with that, I am going to introduce Malory McLemore, who is the founder and CEO of Stell Engineering, and Laura Ahmetaj, who is graduated from HBS as well, and also all things engineering. And I would love for you both to share a little bit about how you met, your story, and where it all started.
Thanks, Molly. We are so excited to do a takeover of MaxQ with these episodes about becoming aerospace engineers and then pivoting into business with the MBA and what our journeys have looked like kind of before, during, and after those moments in our career. Laura and I get asked a lot about, especially applying to the MBA, why we applied, what we did after. So that was the idea behind making these videos, is having these as being able to share with other aerospace engineers that reach out to us about our journey. Laura is kind of my business school twin, which you find when you're applying. We're both first-gen college students, aerospace engineers, and then we're pivoting into the MBA. So that's how we became friends back in 2022 or 2021 when I was in my second year at HBS and Laura was applying to go to school there. And we've kind of been talking like every other week about our career journeys ever since.
But Laura, how about you?
So I remember I was really interested in applying like MBA programs. And as Mallory said, you look for your business school twin just to like figure out like, hey, we'll walk everyone through like the whole application process. But I found Mallory on LinkedIn. She was like one of the few women that had a background in aerospace and worked at like a big prime contractor like myself. And I reached out to her. I was like, hey, would love to hear about like your journey. And she got on the phone with me the next day and we like literally became friends ever since. It was like really funny. I joke with Mallory, it's my like LinkedIn bestie. And then real life bestie also.
Well, I mean, tell us a little bit about the whole process. I mean, how do you even begin? So you became friends. You started the application process. Did you message through like just text, or how do you find a best friend? I want
Yeah.
one. I want to find a where a best
Yeah,
friend.
bestie. Yeah. So I would like LinkedIn searching is actually not my favorite. It's the best thing we have, but it's like not great. I would look up like aerospace and MBA and then like would go through people's profiles and it would not lead me to like anyone. And then I would try to add like Harvard Business School if I was looking for specific schools. And then you would kind of go through this whole process. And then I like saw Mallory's profile and I think it was like so late in the evening. So I would do this like when I was getting ready for bed at night, I'd be on my laptop on LinkedIn. And then I came across Mallory's profile and saw that she also studied aerospace engineering. So I guess a little more context, I studied mechanical engineering and minored in aero. And I was working at Northrop Grumman at the time as a systems engineer, which is like really pertinent to this entire story. And we'll get to that later. And I was really just looking to do something different. For me, I guess a little more context, studied engineering. It was first generation, American first generation college. And I had no idea what career opportunities were available to me. My parents immigrated from Albania. There's no such thing as corporate anything there. My dad basically grew up on a farm before he immigrated to the US. And I had a teacher tell me if you were good at math and science and you enjoyed it, go study engineering. And I really didn't even know what that meant. And my parents had no idea what that was. And I was like, okay. So I ended up in engineering school and I loved it. Like I loved everything that I learned. I loved fluid dynamics, loved heat transfer, loved aerospace propulsion systems. And then I ended up getting a job at Northrop, which was like my dream at the time. I was like, wow, can you imagine I'm going to work on something like the B-2? And I had no idea what space was when I first started Northrop. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't even know there's a thing I could like go work in. So I started out in aircraft, and we could talk more about working at primes in general, like the nuances there. But I just felt like I was hitting a wall of like salary growth, of my ability to learn, upward mobility just was coming slower and slower as people didn't move out of these roles. So I felt like business school was the right option for me at the time, just because I felt like it was going to open doors to either other industries or like other companies. Mallory and I really bonded over the fact that I don't know, you were telling me this one time we were like having dinner or something, that even when you were in school, you were like talking to people at Andrel, it was you were doing an internship or something, and someone was at SpaceX formerly, and they're like, yeah, in SpaceX HR, they like explicitly state like don't hire anyone that came from like a prime contractor because they're like not a culture fit. So like
Is
school
that
really felt like the only way to like kind of like break out of this like mold of like the same three companies everybody would circle to. And Malory told me a lot of her journey, so I'll let her go next. So because she taught me what was actually possible like coming into school and stuff.
Yeah, I think like we immediately connected over LinkedIn because our stories were so similar. So I grew up outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and I was a first gen college student. So my parents were really successful and worked really hard. My dad was the battalion chief of the fire department in Hoover, but obviously like very different from kind of like the corporate tech and engineering world. Like I just was not exposed to a lot of that in Birmingham as a potential career path. Um, and so I was really good at math and science, and I loved reading, and I was kind of a massive nerd growing up. So that is why I ended up in engineering. I had a teacher in high school actually recommend that I pursue engineering in college, and that's why I did. I didn't really know what I would get to end up building or who I would work with. I just knew that I liked kind of the fundamental classes behind it. And I did end up really loving it. I loved building aircraft and defense systems and the mission behind it and the people. But like when I started that journey, I didn't know. And even once I was an engineer, I didn't fully understand what my career options were. And I remember also feeling frustrated with my salary growth and not necessarily just the number, but like what was the path to get rewarded? Like would
Mhm.
what results would get me to that next position? And that really I was just so hungry to learn how to do project management, to introduce technology to the factory floor. And a lot of that just didn't feel possible with the skills I had and the positions I was in. And so that's why I actually ended up at an event at Stanford GSB for women. And I had the best day. I met the most amazing women. And after that, I was like, I'm going to go get an MBA. And so I was kind of like Laura talked about, I messaged people on LinkedIn at that time because someone had given me the advice, okay, you need to go, you're kind of a weird, a weird like business
Yeah.
school fit. So like you need to go find someone that went on a very similar journey and like understand when you apply, like what are you asking? What are you saying that business school will help you achieve? And like can that school actually provide the education and the career opportunities that you're looking for? I think for young girls that have any interest in working in defense tech or are excited about working in outer space, I remember I think the only thing I really knew was that I enjoyed visiting the NASA Center up in Huntsville, Alabama. If that excites you, like don't be afraid of the classes that you need to take to actually go do that work. I remember my freshman year at Alabama, some of my sorority sisters they were concerned about like their grades if they took chemistry or biology. And I remember I just felt very unafraid of getting a bad grade or not understanding something because I was just so curious and driven about like the end work that I might do that I wasn't deterred by any one class feeling challenging. I would also say, like starting the math and science earlier, I did have a mentor that gave me access to a lot of the materials and the math that did make undergraduate feel more possible to get through in 4 years. So I think starting that work as early as possible is really key.
I Something was like a little shocking for me at first, and is like I found to be more discouraging amongst like women in general is like how few women are in like some of these programs, and sometimes you're just like, oh, it's just me. Like I don't feel like like you kind of start feeling a little isolated, but. I think like the number one piece of advice is like to find your community and like to not give up if things get a little bit hard. Like I made some of the best girlfriends ever in engineering school that I still talk to, and like we would like our hangout sessions would literally be like studying our for a thermodynamics exam till 3 a.m. together, and like helping each other, and we would like order pizza to the library, and like that was a part of our experience. We had a lot of fun, and I feel like it's gonna be hard, and I think that just because it's hard, it doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. I think like the most um it's the most fulfilling things you do in life, or like the things that you thought you couldn't do that you ended up figuring out how to do. And I think that just like with the right support system and like the right group of girls, and you can like get through it. And it's also just like really rewarding to work on. So like with Mallory was saying with space, like I grew up in New York. Like I think for people that grew up in SoCal, like you can't like exist in Southern California and like not know about like the space industry. But it like wasn't a thing. There weren't even engineers like in the town I grew up in. So like I literally was like, oh, I don't know who works in space. Like who even like builds space stuff besides NASA? But like once I ended up working on satellites, I remember I got to go in the clean room and wear a little bunny suit for the first time to see one of the satellites I was working on once I like got access to go see it. And I started crying in the clean room. And it was just like such a surreal moment to like come to this point where you get to work on something you didn't even know was possible, and then just be a part of like so many people and like so many hours of work, and to put something up in space that's like no one's ever gonna see again. It's gonna like just do so much good for like, this specifically was for government purposes, but just like knowing it's going to help other people out was like such a critical piece of like infrastructure for security was like just very rewarding for me. So I think like when you're in school, you don't get to see the cool stuff yet. Like some things are cool, but like I'm just here. If someone is listening to this, I want to let them know there's a lot of really cool stuff you get to experience. Like I got to be in a chase car in an active flight line. We were doing flight tests, and it was like a Top Gun movie moment. We were like chasing the plane as it's coming down the runway, going over 100 miles an hour. There's like a lot of really cool experiences like after the education that I think like if you just push through getting the degree and like getting the job, I think it's gonna be very rewarding.